All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the STEM Files. This is another special edition outside of our normal Thursday broadcast. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking with Dr. Ihsan Muhammad. She is, matter of fact, I'm going to start off this way. Forget everything you've ever been told about Fidel Castro. Forget all that stuff, because the legacy of Cuba training Black doctors for free was deep in healthcare all over the world. So join us tonight as we build with one of the products of that amazing work, Dr. Ihsan Muhammad, on going to medical school for free, helping people with chronic diseases, and fundraising for her USMLE prep program. Stay tuned for more after this.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them heavy.
All right, family. As our opening theme just always states, we teach women, and children heavy science, and we focus on highlighting the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black and Brown community. My name is Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I'm a biomedical research scientist with a concentration in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I'm typically joined by my right hand, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabril Engineer. He's a civilian mechanical engineer with the United States Navy. He works on those big, powerful ships that you see out at sea. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight physically, but he's definitely here with us in spirit. But we definitely have somebody who's here with us again, who is going to be filling in for Brother Jabril and going to be adding an extra medical flavor to tonight's broadcast. We have return guest, well, not return guest, but special guest co-host, Sister Dr. Joy to us, 2X. Welcome back to the STEM File, sis.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Praise be to Allah. All right, so without any further ado, matter of fact, before we do that, Sister Dr. Joy, can you tell the audience who you are and why you decided to say yes to coming back to the STEM Files in a different capacity?
Yes, sir. Well, again, my name is Sister Dr. Joy 2X. I am a doctor of Chinese medicine. And so I, went through the whole process of medical school. So I definitely related to Dr. Shan and really wanted to hear all about free medical school in Cuba, like teach.
Right, right. Excellent, excellent.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying yes, because I know I called you like maybe what, no less than an hour before the before we went live, and you were willing to come on and help a brother out. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But we're actually gonna blend the two, both of your backgrounds, and kind of open up another avenue of conversation as it relates to what Dr. Isan is doing. Now, if am I pronouncing your name right, Dr. Isan?
No, it's Dr. Ihsan. It's the short
Isan.
I.
Sure,
Ihsan.
gotcha. Isan. Okay, that's what's up. All right, praise be to Allah. So tonight we're talking about free medical school. We're talking about your journey coming from Cuba, coming from you're not coming from Cuba, but coming from your educational time in Cuba back to the United States. And your journey to becoming a practicing physician in the United States, because that's another journey in itself,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So tell us, tell the audience who you are, how you got involved in medicine, what was your initial spark to become a doctor?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm really grateful to be featured on your platform and just sharing this space. So, yes, I heard about this program through the Honorable Minister's Farrakhan a number of years ago before I went into the program while he was speaking at a local church here in Washington, D.C., where I'm from. And when I heard about this opportunity, I was like, wow, like really? They're 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 gonna take on students who can't, afford to pay for medical school
Right.
here in the States, and I can go for free, like on a scholarship, like full scholarship, really. So I say, wow, I'm gonna do what I need to do to go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity. And so one part of the prerequisites for the program is to take all your basic sciences on a collegiate level. That's biology, chemistry, physics, and organic chemistry as well. So, but yeah, I just was like, I'm going to get all this done
Right, right, right.
and apply. And it was a blessing, honestly and truly. So I mean, my background is that I always wanted to go into the medical field. And from high school I was in a special program that really helped students that were interested in going to the medical field. It was called Health and Human Service Academy. And
Hmm.
in my senior year of high school, I was able to shadow an OBGYN doctor and assist in C-section, cesarean section for is so that was an amazing experience. And then
Wow, wow.
I went on to the collegiate level, and I was like, I'm going to do something that I know that I'm also interested in, and I want to be able to take advantage of the opportunity to earn some money so that I can save up and go away to medical school, right? So I
Right, right, right.
majored in computer science. So I have a bachelor of science in computer science, and I heard about this program, and I was like, wow, I'm going to do what I need to do to apply. So that was the history of that. And here I am today. I'll praise it to Allah.
Yes,
Praise be to
ma'am.
Allah. You ain't gotta tell me twice. You tell me med school is free. Let me see what I gotta do to get over there. And
All
also
right.
too, you said you from DC. Shout out to the Mid Atlantic region because everybody on the screen is in the Mid Atlantic region. Sister Dr. Joy is in North Carolina. I'm in Virginia. So best
Yeah.
region. I'm just saying. I ain't
Yes,
set tripping. I'm just
that's
saying.
right.
Praise be
Yes,
to Allah.
ma'am. I had a question for you, Dr. Muhammad. I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about the actual program that you were in, the clinical hours, the training hours? Just kind of walk us through that.
Okay, sure. The the program is called ELAM, in Spanish, or in English is the Latin American School of Medicine, and it focuses on um, providing the patients with it's a biopsychosocial model that we kind of follow. And that is, being able to consider the whole person, and everything that's going on with them. And one of the unique things about our program is that it incorporates community medicine, public health,
Mhm.
also natural medicine. So we have, all of those things integrated into our program. And from first year medical school, we start to uh, go out into the community in the local polyclinics, and we are, working with patients alongside of the doctors. And so we get to do, things hands on right from first year medical school. And
Right.
so let me back up just for a second. Our program is about 7 years long, which the first year includes learning Spanish. And so you would do like the first 6 months Spanish alone, and then the latter part of that year, you would we incorporate basic sciences in Spanish. So pretty much we're doing all of the basic sciences that we already did on a collegiate level, in our home on a collegiate level in Cuba, but in Spanish. So everything is in
Wow.
Mm.
Spanish. We learn everything in Spanish. All of our books and classes are taught in Spanish. So
Ooh.
so we're taking biology, chemistry, physics, math, also technology class, and we are taught like some basic study tips. So all of that is incorporated in the second half of the first year that we're there in school. And then after that, we start first year medical school, which would technically be the second year that we're in Cuba.
Wow.
That
Mm.
makes sense. So,
Absolutely amazing. Praise be
yes.
to
Yeah,
Allah.
that's incredible. And you know what? Before I make a comment about the language part, right?
Mhm.
So from what I understand, the program was founded in 1998, right?
Yes, that's
So we're
correct.
we're looking at the 25th anniversary of the program.
Yes.
Praise
Yes.
be to Allah. Look at that. So
So,
praise be to Allah. So this is an honor. This episode is in honor of the 25 years of this free program. I wanted to ask you. You know, you said you learning these different sciences, but not only are you learning the sciences, you're learning them in another language, right?
that's correct.
So talk about that transition because I'm not sure. So did you have a Spanish background or that did you know the basics before you went? Did you kind of prepare yourself a little bit, or was this kind of everything was all kind of new to you?
Okay, so I definitely was taking Spanish when I was, in high school. I did take Spanish when I was in college as well. But what I'll say is that it's nothing like being immersed in the environment where you don't have any other choice but to
Right.
speak. Like, oh, so it's an
Right.
international school, and so we are in school with people from all over the world. So that includes, the Latin American communities. It's all in Central America, but also different parts of Africa. Different smaller islands that they all speak different languages, and it's French, it's it's all different types of dialects, for people different parts of Africa. So it's like definitely something that we have to master because that's the common ground that we have, for being in school. And I see you put up, one of the pictures. This is
Yeah, this is a good example of like how many people really come from all over the world and
right.
learn. Yeah.
So you can definitely, you can see in this picture, this was actually one of our rotations, our pediatric rotation. And as you can see, I have a few of my classmates that are also from the United States in this picture, but also students from different parts of Africa that are in this picture as well. And then our Cuban teacher, that she's there in the picture as well. So yeah,
Gotcha.
this is just a prime example, like how diverse our our program is. So yes, to go back to what I was saying, I had to learn, Spanish once I got there, on a higher level, of course, to be able to communicate. Because what I learned in high school and college was really basic, and I wasn't fluent and talking, with ease. So yeah, it's completely different. Now, when you talk about we're gonna go to the market and buy some fruits and vegetables, if you don't know how to manage your money in Spanish and talk in Spanish, they don't get you.
Right.
That's just life. It's like, oh, you
Right.
don't know how much the money is, like. So
Okay, I'm gonna upcharge.
Yeah.
Man.
So yes,
Business school.
absolutely. That's something that without a doubt you had to learn right away. And then we live together, on campus when we first get there. And again, that's the only way that you can communicate. Like, nah, I don't really like that. No, I don't really want to do it that way. Can you please not do this? Or how about we all do this? So those are again common ground, for speaking language in school, and that
Mm,
was in class as well as in your dorm room. So
Yes,
mm,
ma'am. And I have another question for you. You're talking about fruits and veggies, and so I want to know, holistic medicine. Did they consider that as integration, or part of the program? Was it more like folk medicine, or was it revered as it should be within your program?
so it's integrated. We take natural medicine classes, and so we learn a bit of like all the different points, so we can do acupuncture, etc. So like
uh,
I give people
okay.
examples sometimes where we talk about like here in the States, you won't find any doctor that's
Nope.
going to be like, so take some herbal tea and take some honey with that. And you'll get better, like, no,
Mm,
you're not going to find anybody that is going to do that or integrate that in your way of treatment plan for you. So yes, man, we take classes, and we learn all different types of herbs, different plants that are medicinal for us to do treatment plans with.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That's exciting to hear. Definitely also about acupuncture being just in your program already. I wish I'd
Yes,
known
ma'am.
this program.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to
Right,
Allah.
right. So our special guest co-host, Sister Dr. Joy. She is a doctor of Chinese medicine, and one of her areas of specialty is acupuncture.
Well,
You
it's
know,
women's
so
health. So,
women's health, right, right, right. And it's such an amazing thing to hear how the healthcare system in Cuba has been able to incorporate all of these things. And I'm not even going to say incorporate because that's really, in essence, true healthcare. Is being able to use nutrition, use other areas of uh, healing to promote better health, right?
Right.
So I wanted to get from you. You know, we have a medical system in the United States that doesn't necessarily, like you said, you're not going to find a doctor trained as a medical doctor traditionally in the United States. They're not going to offer these types of things unless they know how to do that or they know to incorporate that into their practice in some way, right? So, can you talk about being able to learn about nutrition while you're training to be a doctor? Because that's not in the medical school curriculum, right? In the States. So talk
Mhm.
about how important that is to have all these different types of education about the human body to properly, get someone out of the condition in
Oh yes, absolutely. So that's another part of our training, and a lot of I've had a few people that ask me. We do take nutrition classes in our program, and so that allows us to be able to you know know what are different amounts that somebody should be taking in, and that's the full range, because once we graduate we are family medical doctors, so we have taken rotations in each of the areas, like as I mentioned that particular picture, we were rotating in
Mhm.
pediatrics, and so we have covered all of the different areas, and so we are trained in nutrition, or how we're supposed to make sure that each patient is getting their proper diet in. And so, it's that's definitely second to none.
Right,
Second
right,
to
right,
none, because yeah, there's I think I was listening recently to I was listening to something. I'm not really sure what it was now that I'm thinking about it, but I know it was a doctor that was explaining that back in their time when they went through medical school, they didn't have hours. They had one class about nutrition. When they
right,
was coming through medical school, and I was like, wow,
right, right.
that's
If that.
crazy, right? If that. So yeah, we definitely have we take nutrition a couple of years, throughout our time of school, and we have to apply it. So once we are in 6 year medical school, and it's basically our intern year there in Cuba, and so we are responsible for doing treatment plans for our patients, like me, me myself.
Right, right, right.
And like sometimes in the beginning I was like, wow, like it's all
This
me,
really happening, right,
it's
right.
exactly. But yeah, that's how it is. It's like, so you went through school, now you're here now. We did all of these years, and this is the time now. You gotta show proof for what you learned in these years. And so, yes, all praises to Allah. Like, I was able to come through that and be able to, properly provide treatment plans. Of course, we always have the doctors that are guiding us, and we make sure that they look over our treatment plans to make sure that everything is good, and that we're doing the best work that as we've been taught to do.
To Allah.
Yes, ma'am.
Incredible.
Well, I was also wondering too, in my medical school, in my program, even from the inception of you walking in the door,
Mhm.
we were taught that the spirit of the practitioner is paramount to treating anybody. So I want to hear kind of like what your self-care routines were, becoming a medical doctor, and also, just from my perspective of mind, body, spirit medicine, what were you doing to take care of your spirit? Was there a mosque nearby? Were you talking to other believers while you
Mm,
were down in Cuba? How was that for you?
good question.
Okay, yeah. Yes, great question. Great question. So I okay, so all praise to Allah. I have been born and raised in the Nation of Islam, and I would say that I really have a strong base in my faith. My faith practice just in general. And so when I went away to school, of course, it could have been a strain, but because my foundation was strong, that's what allowed me to be able to stand stand a little bit. But
Right,
but of
right.
course, there all of my family and everybody was there supporting me, and of course our local administration, and the mosque and everything
Yes,
was in support of
absolutely.
me. So everybody made sure they kept in touch with me, and there in Cuba they also have a mosque, not necessarily Nation of Islam, but there are Muslims in Cuba, and that Muslim community, the Imam at that time, um, he he actually, met Minister Louis Farrakhan at one point in time, and he was like was very familiar with the Nation of Islam, and he said he would make sure that he take care of me, and so they
Praise be to Allah.
as a community, as a Muslim community, they made sure that they looked out for me. And if I need anything, they were there. So that
Right,
means,
right.
they welcome me into their home, as many of the Cubans do in general. Like I would say in general, the Cuban people are very welcoming. And when I first got there, they everybody is like, oh, you need to learn Spanish. Like, what can we do to help you? Oh, come over, you can have something to eat, and that the Cuban people, they don't have much, but what they do have, they don't mind sharing it. And
Mhm.
so that's where we how we're taught that half my bowl of bean soup is
Right, right, right.
you know, if that's all that I have, and so they definitely operate from that space. So so back to the Muslim community, it's same thing. If I needed any food or what have you, then they always made sure they looked out for me. So
All
Yes,
praise to
absolutely.
Allah. Thank you.
And that's a prime example of Minister Farrakhan making those friends all over the world
Right.
to be able to, so that when we go to these different places, we have people that can look out for us, or people that we can do business with, or you know
right.
no no question, that there's no limit, because he was able to he's been able to solidify these relationships, across the planet. And we're going to get into Minister Farrakhan's relationship uh with Fidel Castro as well later on in the program. But I wanted to ask you, you know I remember talking to somebody about this program about a decade ago, right?
Mhm.
And at that time I was still in high school. And one of the things that he said was, don't focus on the path of least resistance. Don't do this program because it's free, or you don't need it's not required. There's not as much requirements as it is as a traditional medical school in the States, right?
Mhm.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I know people have tried to put these plant these seeds of doubt in your mind as well when you were about to go over there, coming from the United States. So how did you deal with the naysayers? How did you deal with people who were trying to deter you from this particular path?
Well, honestly, I didn't have much kickback for people who thought that I shouldn't go. All praise due to Allah. Like I had nothing but supporters, and there.
Praise be
So
to
I would
Allah.
say that in general, I'm sure there are some people that you know, think, oh no, like you're going over there, you're gonna be okay, and so.
Right.
But so some people, express some concern just from the standpoint of like just being far away from home, but not really necessarily against the program or what was being offered, because yeah, that even though there is an embargo um, from the United States on Cuba, that didn't have anything to do with um, the Cuban people and Fidel opening up their arms to be able to extend this scholarship. And as you mentioned earlier, the program, yes, it started out, because of Hurricane Mitch and George in 1998, and then in 2000, once the Black Caucus went to visit. Later on in that year, once Fidel Castro announced about, being able to extend the scholarships to students, then there was a gentleman by the name of Reverend Lucius Walker who took on the task of being able to help facilitate the students who were interested in coming through this program. And so, so all praises to Allah for him as well, because he was,
Right. Right.
one of the fighters, to make sure that this is something that we are able to help the students here in the United States that can't afford to pay for medical school to go and take advantage of this opportunity. And so, and then, like you said, I know you say you're going to mention, talk about it a little bit later, Minister Louis Farrakhan and his relationship with Fidel Castro and extending scholarships to him as well,
Right.
So
Right.
we just had um, a wonderful opportunity between the building of great relationships. So,
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. All right. So at this time, we're gonna go right into our black, no, not Black Business Highlight, our special commercial break regarding the Final Call newspaper. As a matter of fact, not only is tonight's episode dedicated to 25 years of this amazing program, but we're also going to be dedicating it to the beautiful marriage that is of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadija Farrakhan. So, family, check this out, and then we'll get right into that dedication.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call digital edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Peace. This is Ihsan Muhammad, a future architect, and you're watching The STEM Files.
All right, family, welcome back to the STEM Files. So tonight's edition of the STEM Files and this week's edition of the Final Call newspaper is seven. We're celebrating 70 years of marriage between the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadija Farrakhan. Our family, 70 years is a long time. That's over three times as long, almost over two times as long as many of us on the screen have been alive. So we want to thank Allah for allowing Mother Khadija Farrakhan to be such a wonderful helpmeet to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan since 1953. I believe the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I think they were 20 years old or 21 years old when they got married. So for anybody who is, looking to get married and they think they are too young, look at the example of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadija Farrakhan family. If you like this edition of the Final Call newspaper, tap in with me here in Richmond, Virginia, or with Sister Dr. Joy in Greensboro, North Carolina, or with Sister Dr. Ihsan Muhammad in Washington, D.C., or with Jabril Muhammad in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Or if you like your digital subscription, please tap in with the Final Call at finalcalldigital.com or as follow them on social media at Final Call Newspaper. This is the flagship product of the Nation of Islam, and we are eternally grateful for the union of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah Farrakhan. All right, family. So we're back into it. Tonight's episode, we're talking about going to medical school for free. We're talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's relationship with Comandante. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So y'all got the Spanish background, so help me out.
Comandante.
But say that again.
Comandante.
Comandante. I'm not gonna try to put the dialect on it. I'm just
Okay.
but so we're talking about his relationship with Fidel Castro. We're talking about the journey that is coming back from the training, and now you're back in the States and you need to finish making sure that you finish qualifying yourself to practice medicine, right?
That's right.
So the journey from so now you're done with medical school, and how long have you been done, by the way? How many years has it been?
So I just graduated last year in
Okay,
2022.
Praise be to
praise be to Allah.
God.
Congratulations. Okay, awesome, awesome. So 2022. So now we're in 2023, and for those who don't know, it's very difficult to once you come out of the program, it's very difficult to get your medical license here in the United States because of it's just politics, it's political, really. But I'm not going to talk about because we have someone on here that is going through this. So tell us about the journey. Tell us first and foremost, when someone graduates from medical school, what is the process after that to actually be able to practice medicine?
Okay, so yes, after we graduate from medical school in Cuba, we are considered international medical school graduates. And for anyone who wants to practice medicine in the United States, they will all have to go through the same process, which is to take your board exams, which there are three, and take residency. And so that's the part of the process or the journey that I'm on right now, to be able to take my board exams. Of course, so for right now, I'm studying for my board exams, and it takes time. It takes time for you to really sit down and be focused. Some other people may be in some other areas and might know, if you're studying to become a lawyer, it's the same thing. They have to take an exam and you have to study really hard. So that's the part that I'm at. A lot of students that are here in the States, usually after their first year, they are obligated to take their first board exam. And it's not quite the same for us in our international school, because it's a different structure, of course. So they do encourage us to take our exams, along the way if we can. And that means that, you really have to take the time out to really be hardcore studying, because you have your classes, your normal classes, and assignments and tests and everything that are due, and then also study for the board exams for here. And so that's kind of difficult to do, and I wasn't able to do that along the way. So once I graduated, I came back. That's what I'm focused on now, just studying to take my first board exam. And each board exam is quite expensive.
Right, right. Very
So
expensive.
yeah, they're ranging about $1,000 each now. And so that's why when you mentioned that I'm actually on that part of my journey, I am really asking others to support me in my journey, and help me to fundraise and get donations towards my efforts to take my first board exam.
Absolutely. And for those who are watching, you can donate to our sister's efforts by clicking the link in the description. Or if you're watching on Facebook, you can click the link in the caption. There's a GoFundMe link right there. Click the GoFundMe link, and you can support our sister's journey and making sure that she is successful and making sure that she is able to practice medicine legally here in the
Right.
United States. Those board exams are
Mhm.
it's something else, but I think a lot you were able to avoid a lot of the other types of debt, like the MCAT debt, because you don't have to take the MCAT to be a part of the program.
Right.
Praise be to
Correct.
Allah. That's a extra a bulk layer of stress that is gone. and then you don't have to pay for medical school. So that's another heavy layer of stress that you don't have to deal with, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So praise be to Allah. So let's get into some more from Dr. Joy.
Yes, ma'am. Well, that's fascinating too, because here in the United States, when you're practicing or even learning holistic medicine, that's another journey in and of itself. Unlike medical school, we do still go through 3 to 4 years of the journey. We take up to 4 medical boards ourselves. The fourth is not mandatory, though. It's the herbal board examination. But if you are really wanting to practice and prescribe herbs, you still can under your other credentials, but that is just kind of the cherry on top. So, and they are quite expensive. Mine, they were about $400 each. I also had medical school debt, the size of a house, literally. So, just yes, ma'am. So just trying to kind of navigate, also just that financial journey, that financial burden, and
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I wanna add that you know the the program is, it's a wonderful opportunity, and it is a scholarship, right? But of course, the supplemental books that we, would have to use while we're there, because of course, like I said, everything is in Spanish, so all the books and everything that are provided to us are in Spanish, and so if we needed to study in English, that's something that we would have to bring, or for ourselves. And then I would say also, in addition, I would travel back and forth, like in the summer, if I was, able to. Of course, not always was I able to, but that was, something that also my family and everybody who supports me, helped to contribute towards, because the travel back and forth is not included at all,
Right,
and
right,
then
right.
also anything, while we were there in school, um, I'm vegetarian. And so that was another, I would say, small challenge, because the cultural diet there is quite different.
Mhm.
And they they did they did have a lot of pork, but once I got there, we petitioned, along with a lot of
Right.
different Muslims that were from different parts of Africa, that they should have, option that's available for Muslims that don't eat pork. And so they did make adjustments to accommodate the Muslim students that do not eat pork, and make things that were like chicken based instead of pork based. So that made a
Right,
big
right.
difference. And I had to buy my fruits and vegetables fresh, so that I would have them, something that I can make on a one eye hot plate, myself, and just, be
Right.
able to supplement a little bit better than, but the diet is basic, like rice and beans. We'll have that all the time,
Mhm.
and some meat. Yeah, that was like a basic,
Right, right.
meal in our Commodore. That's what cafeteria is in Spanish, Commodore. So yeah, that rice, beans, and a meat, you we would have that all the time, something.
Yes,
so
man.
so me, I was like, wait a minute, we need some vegetables too. And so,
Right.
so they had that, they did have vegetables, but I have to say that, the reality is that um there, because of the embargo, there's not a lot of things that come into the country.
Mhm.
Like we have, all things that are imported, and you can eat all fruits and vegetables all that you want all year round. No, the fruits and vegetables there are seasonal. You know, there's avocado season, there's tomato season, there's mango season. It's like, so when it's not in season, those different fruits and or vegetables, they're not available. And so you eat what is in season at the time, and that might just be cucumbers and tomatoes. That might be, like, of course it varies, but yes, sir. So I'm just expressing that, um, there was need to supplement a little bit while I was away at school. Even though I was on scholarship, we, we get like a very small stipend, which at the time when I first went away to school, it was equivalent to about $4 a month that we would get in a stipend from the Cuban government. And you can imagine $4 doesn't cover much.
Nah,
so
nah.
so my family
Can't
and
walk down the street with that
no,
one.
my family and supporters, they really helped me out to, be able to send me a couple of dollars to, help supplement that. And so that's where, a little bit of expense came in as it relates to me being on scholarship in a way school in Cuba.
So as you can see, there is a lot of challenges that people go through when it comes to, being over there in being over there in the program, and it's not necessarily just all, okay, medical school is free, but there's still other day-to-day life challenges that you used to have to go through because of the sanctions that the United States government has put on Cuba when it comes to the exchange of goods, right? So
That's correct.
speaking of that sanction, right? We have uh, Minister Farrakhan and his relationship with Fidel Castro, and may Allah be pleased with our brother. He did a great work for himself and his people, and a lot of people across the world, or especially in the United States, consider him a quote unquote dictator, right? Now, his country, along with Muammar Gaddafi, who another one is, may Allah be pleased, another friend of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and these countries were able to provide the basic needs for their people for free: healthcare and energy, you name it. The needs were free, right? So, talk about how can somebody who is offering these things be considered a dictator? What goes on in the mind of our open enemy to make these accusations, knowing they're doing these things for their people?
It's sad. What I would say is actions speak louder than words. So, you know, there there's a clear example through Comandante Fidel Castro that he, his heart was good, and that he opened it up to be able to extend it to the world. This opportunity for students to come there, get trained, become a medical doctor, and go back and serve in those underserved communities from which they came. So, that is part of the agreement with us accepting the scholarship in Cuba, um, that you're gonna come there, get trained, and go back and serve in those underserved communities. That is the purpose for this program. It's not for you to, stay in Cuba. And a lot of people ask me, "Oh, you're not staying in Cuba?"
On
No,
vacation.
no. The the program is very clear that they are doing this in exchange for you going back to help your community to be
Right.
better. And so, yeah, like the, I I'm like, you
That's a
all
good
can
deal.
see.
Right,
We
right.
all can see right off. Like, this
Right.
is what it is that I've gone there, got trained, and now I'm back. And I heard Sister Dr. Joy mentioning earlier that she's focusing on women's health. And that's the same thing that I would like to focus in. Actually, from my third year medical school until the time that that I finished in sixth year, I was what you call an ayudantia, or a helper in a teacher's aide or teacher's assistant in the OB/GYN
Yes.
department. And so, that right there, I already mentioned that when I was in high school, I assisted the OB/GYN doctor with a cesarean section. And so when I got there, I was like, yeah, I'm ready,
Mhm.
and then, yeah, so my third through 6 years of medical school, I did 24-hour shifts in the hospital, in that department on a regular, consistent basis. and I learned a lot, and doing births, and so that's my focus, that I would like to do family medicine with a focus on women's health. So that's that's my baby. I love it. Yes.
And I had some more questions about that, actually, because I was reading, your biography as soon as I got sent. But what actually got you involved or interested in obstetrics and gynecology, other than being a woman yourself, and just thinking, long-term plans, like in the Black community, in the Nation of Islam, during the pandemic, while you're studying this medicine, what were the implications of you studying women's health?
So yeah, so I just, for me, as I was, growing up, I was like, man, like, is every doctor that is the OB-GYN going to be a male? Like,
Right.
there were so
Come on, talk
many
about
male
it.
doctors in the OB-GYN department, like, to provide healthcare to me. And I was like, yeah, no, this has to change, and so that was part of what inspired me, just my own personal healthcare, that I was like, isn't it somebody else that's available? Like,
Come on.
I had
Right.
to, I had to search around, and like, no, I want a female doctor, so that was something that, really inspired me to be like, there is a need for female doctors in this department. Like, there should be no reason why I can't find a female doctor to provide healthcare for my body that they're going to know best about. It's no man. You can't tell me, like, you can't read a book enough to, to be able to know, what it's like to be a woman, and what, some of the things that she goes through, and to be able to provide the best care for her. I mean, you can do the best you can to read all the books, but it's just nothing that compares to being able to be someone that experiences on a month-to-month basis what a woman goes through. So
right. Now, did you see any complications like that when you were doing your clinicals? Anything during the pandemic, or with menstrual health, fertility, menopause, anything like that? Did you see anything like that?
So let me just go back real quick. I wanted to add one other thing for the reasoning why, also why the women's health was important to me. As a Muslim woman, that was another thing that, really came to my mind. Like, so not only in general as a woman, that, I was like, we need to have this available, but as a Muslim woman, in addition, I thought that it was really important that I pushed through to be able to provide services to our Muslim community as women, So, so to answer your question, just repeat it real quick for me.
Any complications or anything that you saw coming through your clinicals during the pandemic, within the spectrum of women's health, menstruation, fertility, infertility, menopause, anything like that?
Okay. So in Cuba, they actually have one of the highest rates for births, and making sure that there's no fatalities. Very, very, very few. Like, you could probably count them on your hand how many fatalities that they've had, and that's with the child being born and the mother both. And they focus heavily on making sure that the women are cared for. So I'll walk you through a little bit what it looks like, in Cuba. So once you're pregnant, then you are followed by your local doctor that's in your community. So in each community there are what they call polyclinics, and those doctors are usually someone that lives in your community, and and knows you and your family very well, and they are the ones that are responsible for following through with making sure that you're going to all your doctor's appointments, that you're, receiving the best, best care. And they do check-ins, they do home check-ins, as well as you come into the clinic to be checked. And so that's all throughout your pregnancy, making sure that you are going to all of your appointments and check-ins, and that you're keeping, the best nutrition, with your daily diet and everything. So, and then if there are any risks, then they have what they call, maternal homes for mothers, and those are all of the different complications that you can think of, that once you get into, let's say, hypertension in pregnancy, or or if you're a diabetic, all of those different complicated things that you can face, during your pregnancy, they will watch you closely in a maternal home that's specifically for the pregnant women. And yeah, so once they're monitoring. There's sometimes where, if they get whatever your complication is under control, then you might be able to go back home, and then just continue to be monitored by the local doctor at your polyclinic. But there are some cases where they, will carry out the rest of their pregnancy in the maternal home for moms. And so I think that's awesome. And like once you, reach to the point where you are ready to give birth, then you're going in, and they're going to make sure that they tend to you as best as possible until you give birth.
Okay.
One thing that I found very interesting about Cuba is once you have a cesarean section, they will make you have a cesarean section thereafter, because they say that that's their way of making sure that nothing happens that shouldn't. And so that was something that I found really interesting. And I say that because, interesting enough, like my mom had a C-section, in like one of her first children, and then after that, all the rest were natural births. And so that's why I found it interesting once I was there, learning and just being in that environment, that was a rule that they have. So that's quite interesting.
Do you recall any data on the prevalence of any complications happening if they didn't stick to cesarean, and they just how do you know how just just kind of if you were able to see any data on the prevalence of something happening if they did cesareans on X amount of women for a certain amount of time, and then if somebody went back to traditional birth, would that cause any issues? Did you see any data on that?
No, sir. I'm telling you, their rule is if you had C-section, then all the rest will be a scheduled cesarean section. And
Got
so
it.
there's
Okay.
there's no data on that because that's their rule.
Okay.
And
That's what I'm
I
talking
would say
about.
if someone ended up having their child naturally, it was by mistake because
Wow. Wow.
yeah, like that's something that just that happened and it wasn't supposed to, because they definitely follow through with every single mom. Like I'm telling you, it's a close follow. There's you ain't slipping through the cracks. There are several
Gotcha.
doctors that are in working with you in connection with your health and making sure that your birth is your pregnancy is going the way it should, and then your birth plans are followed through as well. So yeah, they don't leave no room for error.
That's
Wow.
nice.
Praise be to Allah.
Nice.
That is cool because
I can't.
it's
I
Mhm.
can't say, of course, that something never happened, but for me, no, I haven't seen any. You know, personally seen that process fall through.
Mm.
Now, while I was serving, you know, in that in the department every year, of course, I've been able to be a part of, you know, some different cases that came in, such as like ectopic pregnancy, that went to surgery. Also, a mom that experienced heavy hemorrhaging or something like that. So so I have been able to be in in the hospital and present for those type of emergencies, because at that point those are emergencies, but they were definitely handled very well, and I went to surgery with them, so yeah. And I was able to experience watching the staff handle something such as hemorrhaging, a mom that's hemorrhaging. So yeah, so all of those different things that could happen, I would say that I was blessed to be present for a number of different emergency situations and see how I was supposed to handle them best. And of course, and also I was participating. I always had,
Right,
I
right. Not
always
just gonna
had a
stand there and
role.
watch.
Right. I always had a role in, something. It's like, okay, your job is make sure that you are checking her blood pressure every, however many minutes. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I would say as a team, we just really worked well together and identified each person for whatever their job was going to be. And so it's not like you're in there by yourself. We definitely work as a team.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Praise be to Allah. And that's so fascinating that you basically had a full spectrum doula service essentially in
Right, right.
Right.
like
Right.
God.
I was just about to
Yeah,
say
no.
that it's like a perfect blend of obstetrics and midwifery and
Right.
that of a doula. So much attention and care, plus the medical care that you would traditionally get. That's
Right.
beautiful.
That
Absolutely.
is
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for my mentor, tutor that's the OBGYN doctor there in Cuba. She was phenomenal with, assisting. Well, I had a few, that kind of just really took me in. And when certain patients, they'd be like, okay, that's your patient. You got that one, you know? And yeah, so, and I'm just in the back, like telling my patient, like, listen, this is what you got to do. We gonna walk a little bit and we gonna, so yeah, I
Right,
mean,
right.
it was fun. It was fun. And that saying all of that information that I learned early on, then, my classmates that were, in the years under me, I was able to share with them and show them how they're supposed to do things. So that's why I said I was a teacher assistant, because once those students come to rotate through that department, then they have to learn how to, how to put the mom on the monitor and, like everything. Yeah. So that's what I was doing.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to
Excellent,
Allah. I was
excellent.
also a teaching assistant in my school as well. So this is wonderful to speak to someone who has also similar experiences. And just a little bit, I wanted to know how they integrated acupuncture actually in your program. Was it within the OBGYN program? Was it just kind of a brief side note? How did that integrate into your program? Exactly.
So it's in our class. We're in a class and we learn, all the points, and then we do clinical hours to see, how it's done. And then we also had people who came in from the United States, that just did like other workshops for us, and they brought needles, and it was beautiful, just to really help us along, in our practice, and so so we practice on each other, and all the kind of things. You know how it is.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, but yeah, just being able to have the opportunity to be in the clinical setting and see the patients receiving all the different types of treatments. So not only just acupuncture, but for example, like cupping. You're familiar with that,
Yes.
and so, all right, Sister George, yes, ma'am. So I'm just saying, there's an array of different things that we learn in class, and then we um, are able to go in a clinical setting and see the doctors apply those different techniques.
That's beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Because I realized that, also in the 90s, Cuba had the exchange with China, North Korea, Vietnam. So they were already integrating acupuncture within, a TCM program via the Cuban Ministry of Health, which I thought
Mm.
was very interesting, and that's why I was also wondering, at the beginning of the program, when you had heard the minister speaking. I'm glad you did speak about that at the beginning. But I thought when I read your bio initially that it was at the 2005 anniversary march on Washington, or the meeting in Washington D.C. Where he first spoke about the nation's Ministry of Health and all of the ministries. So just like speaking about some parallels for myself, just being new to the nation and creating
Yes,
a
ma'am.
timeline for myself. Yes, ma'am.
No, I didn't hear about it then. But when I did hear about it, like I said, he was speaking at a local church
Right.
that was, in DC, and that's when I first heard about it before I went into the program. And I knew, I learned that prior to then he, met with Fidel Castro, and Fidel Castro extended the scholarships to the Nation of Islam. And so,
Amazing.
so I was like, okay, wow, but I did do the process of going through IFCO Pastors for Peace, who is the primary program that allows us to be filtered into the Cuban program. So it's through them that you will apply to the program, IFCO Pastors for Peace, and they do a whole interview process, and they you have to finish your basic sciences with a B or better, and be now they lowered the age range, the highest age, but the age is between 18 to 25 that you have to be in order to apply to the program. Now they do accept, if you missing that by a little bit, they usually will make an exception, but of course I can't guarantee that, but they do encourage people to still inquire, even if you're a little bit over the age of 25.
Okay.
I was just about to ask that, like, is there an age cap? Because you know, and it's good for anybody, no matter how old they are, to still pursue that goal of becoming a doctor.
Right.
Um, and like you said, making exceptions. And I'm sure if they when they look at your profile, it's like, oh, this, that, and the third. Let me slide him on in here, slide him or her on in here real quick. So they can accomplish their goal. Um, tonight we talking about the legacy, right? The legacy of Cuba training Black doctors. So we've had a ton of believers come out of this program, right? We had Sister Dr. Mariam, not Mariam, well, Sister
Yeah.
Dr. Mariam,
Yeah.
Sister Dr. Rukaya,
Yeah.
Minister's granddaughters. We
That's right.
had Sister Dr. Mayada in Atlanta. We
Mhm.
had Sister Dr. Naira, of course,
That's right.
who's one of our more recent graduates right before you, I believe. And they were able to be beacons of light and examples of people from the Nation of Islam, or Black women in general, Black people, period, coming from the United States, going into this program. So talk about what that legacy means for you, seeing um, those sisters come before you, brothers and sisters come before you, and people coming after you, looking at you as an example of, wow, she can do this, so can I. Talk about that legacy and that inspiration behind seeing more like yourself.
Right. Yes, sir. So I do want to shout out and just mention the brother Shaquille that came through the program out of New York. But
Praise be to Allah.
certainly, you know, they all, you know, were inspiration for me. Like just, you know, all of us coming through this like knowing that we are going to be able to make a change in the world. And even if it's just little by little, like that's all we can do. You know, it's like all of us, you know, collectively, you know, we do our little part, and that's what we need. Though it's like everybody has to do their small part, which helps to lead to the larger goal of that we are servicing our people and our communities, so that we can, you know, be better. We can be healed from, you know, many of our sicknesses that ail us in our communities. And so, you know, like I'm excited that all of us have been successful thus far, coming, you know, graduating out of the program, and now it's, you know, it's getting to the work. It's like all of
Right,
us, you
right.
know, take your board exams, you know, do your residency, and get to work in the community, you know. So like one of my goals is that, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that, you know, he want us to, you know, have our own hospital, you know.
That's
So
right. Come
like
on.
yeah, like
That
I
200 bed hospital, right.
Right.
that's right. Like I'm about, you know, collaborating with, you know, other like-minded doctors and, you know, the believers in the Nation of Islam, and all, you know, all of those graduates that you just mentioned, so that we can come together and open up our own, you
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
So
Let's make it happen.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're doing a good job in we're working right now with Minister Kadir in Washington D.C. to really uh organize the Ministry of Health and Human Services in the Mid Atlantic. Like you said, you got to focus where you're at. You know, start where you are and kind of and build from there. But we're working very diligently to build out the Ministry of Health so that we can begin to see all the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted us to see, begin to wanted us to do, uh, begin to employ those that we just got finished talk about, like yourself, myself, Sister Dr. Joy,
Right.
and just be able to fully get away from our open enemy. And I'm going to ask you a question regarding that, but we're going to let Sister Dr. Joy take over real quick.
Praise be to Allah. I had one final question for you, ma'am. I was also reading in your bio that you're also an entrepreneur. So can you please tell us about some of your endeavors
Yeah.
as a Black woman entrepreneur from the Nation of Islam?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So I am an ambassador for a few different companies, and what I try to do is um, partner myself with companies that are Black owned, and also have, you know, products that will help our people. You know, so one of the companies that I'm an ambassador with is a Black owned company by the name of Jewel Sanitary Napkins, and I help to, you know, educate women about their menstruation and their menstrual cycle, and encourage them that it doesn't have to be painful. You
Right.
know, that's, you know, something that so many people think, oh, that's just how it is, and it's just going to be that way. Well, I am here to say that, you know, I go by the business name of Natural Diva Flow, and
Yes.
so I make sure yeah, so I make sure that, you know, people are aware of those different, you know, myths and things that they think is normal, that it's not, and it doesn't have to be that way. And also that most of the toxic things that we put in our body, as it relates to menstruation, comes from the sanitary napkins that have, you know, all kinds of toxins in them. You know, most of the name brand um different, you know, sanitary napkins that are available, they're all made with different types of toxins, and once that gets into your body, those are the things that are causing you pain and
Mhm.
allow for the growth of fibroids, etc. And
Right.
so you know, so that's one of them. And then I'm also partnered with Nature's V, and we
Hey,
actually,
shout out to brother Victor.
yeah, we actually partnered up, and we have what's called the um, Dr. Ihsan Muhammad and Nature's V Humanitarian Project for Cuba, and so that's another product, immunotherapy, dietary supplements
Mm.
that are really helping our people to address the issues of like high blood pressure, diabetes. You know, it's definitely helping those people who suffer from more recently, like with COVID.
Right.
Oh,
Hmm.
all the people like
But
we've had.
comorbidities, good
Yeah,
Lord.
we've had plenty of patients that used our product, and they were better. Well, showing significant changes within just 3 days.
Wow.
And so that's phenomenal. In addition, like there was an older sister who she was having issues with heart health, and I know that's
Mm.
your area, brother Tark.
Yes, ma'am.
And so this immunotherapy dietary supplement allowed her to be able to come off the medication that she was on. And the doctor said, yeah, I don't see those issues anymore. And so she was
Mm.
like, all praise to Allah. So it's a phenomenal product to deal with those kind of things. Um, different, so those are dealing with some of the mainstream, things like I said, diabetes, blood pressure, but also viral, things. So as I mentioned, the COVID, and so this product was actually something that allowed HIV positive patient to go to a HIV negative patient,
That's
and
right.
so that right there like blew me away. And so I was like, wow, so he's not positive anymore, like,
Mm.
so, and that was back in
90s, yeah.
90 95, I think.
Mm.
I don't. So
Yeah,
I'm
90,
sorry if I
94.
misquoting the year, but yeah, that was a long time ago. It was a
Right.
long time ago that that they had success with that, and so that is not limited to, of course, is things such as herpes and just different things that you wouldn't expect that it would have an effect on, but it does. And so that's why, I decided to partner with them. And that's, another product that is super helpful. And then also more recently, I partnered with another company that is Black and Latino owned. Um, and they offer, health products that is a juice that's called a live juice, and for every bottle that we sell, we donate a dollar towards the I Am Alive Foundation, which supports mental health, depression, suicidal, people that
Mm.
suffer from those type of things. So so I really like that mission that we are looking to impact a billion people, and through that product we are going to help to you know address the mental illness that's in our communities. So yeah, that's of course this it's not limited to. We also have sprays, which that it's been shown that it has a 95% uptake in having your the way that you administer those different products into your body, that's different from your traditional ways, that allow it to really get into your body better. And then we have like a whole wealth side where we teach people how to do Airbnb, how to do Turo,
Mm.
like it's
Okay.
that's a whole field that many
Right.
people they kind of sleep on, but you know, when you traveling that you go and get your Airbnb because you're trying to save the dollars. Like,
Right.
yeah, that's important. So
Right,
for
right.
us to be able to teach people how to do that and open up their own business and practice, like, I think that's amazing. And so that's another reason why I partner with them. So those three companies, that's, reach out and let's get it popping.
I will
Yeah,
be. Thank you, ma'am. I'll praise you to
yes.
Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Well, family, we've been thoroughly fed on tonight's program. I just want to first and foremost say thank you for joining us tonight. We typically don't like to go too far past the hour because we're not into 3 hour long episodes and webinars and all that other stuff. But we just want to thank you for joining us out of your busy schedule. I know because you're still training you're still preparing yourself um, to practice in the United States. And also, again, shout out to Brother Victor, biomedical and agricultural scientist. He's been on the STEM files a total of so 3 times while blog talk, and then 3 more times while on YouTube. So a total of 6 times. He's the most decorated. He has the most decorated appearance on the STEM files out of all of our guests, and he's talked about. His HIV research. He's talked about working with Dr. Aleem. Dr. Aleem has been on the STEM files talking about what was going on in the 90s with Cameron and all
Yeah,
that other stuff. So if you want to, listen to those episodes, feel free to search to, scroll through our catalog and listen to that. But again, this has been an amazing episode. Dr. Joy, did you have anything before we go?
No further questions. Thank you so much, Dr.
thank
Ihsan.
you.
Praise be to Allah. And Sister Dr. Ihsan, can you, give us some words of encouragement for those who are watching, especially those who are interested in the program and may want to send their children there, or they're a young person and like, I want to go to medical school, but I'm not sure how. Can you give us some, last matter of fact, I'm going to ask you something. Are you related? And because I know you're from DC, are you related to Sister Samantha Elamine in any way?
No.
Okay, because you look a lot like her. So she's the sister captain in Richmond, Virginia, but I know she's from the DC area, but you look a lot like her. But anyway,
Yes,
so
sir.
um yeah, just kind of give us some words of encouragement, last, final remarks.
Sure. So anybody, I mean, I know there are a lot of parents that, they listen to this and they're like, I want to send my child, but definitely for any students who are interested in going to the medical field, this opportunity is available for you. And, as I mentioned, there's some really basic requirements, the age range between 18 to 25. And if you're a little bit older than that, you still reach out and, and try to, get information. Like I said, you can go in online. It's IFCO Passes for Peace. And don't feel shy. You can do this. You can do this. Like, listen, if I was able to get through this program, even with all the different challenges that I had, I shared, candidly with you all, as best as possible. It's not a cakewalk, no, but it's a wonderful opportunity where you wouldn't be able to do that here in the States. And the exchange for the type of education that you're going to receive, all the hands-on experience, from first year medical school until you graduate, and everything that I mentioned that is integrated, that we have, a biopsychosocial model where we're treating, the whole person. We're looking at the whole person, and it's integrated in our system, the community health, public health, natural medicine. Listen, you're not going to get that anywhere else. And then on top of that, knowing that the goal is for you to be able to get that knowledge and come back and serve your people and service your community. You
Right,
know
right.
that we're sick, but there is a way that we can help and serve our people and make ourselves better. And so I just want to encourage you that you can, and reach out to me if you if you have any questions. Don't be shy. Don't be shy at all. I don't mind answering questions. And that goes for students who are interested, and also parents who, would like to send their children. That I will say, your child has to have a want to do this, because it's not easy. You're gonna have to, like I said, it's, I had a foundation, in my faith, all praise due to Allah. And then when I got there, they were able to support me further as far as the Muslim community. And so you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this.
Praise be to Allah. And family, this again, this is not a knock on the medical schools here in the States.
Not at
Definitely get, if you're in a position and you see yourself, getting trained here in the States, praise be to Allah, definitely get the training where you can get it. We just want the people to know that when one door closes, there's another one that's open.
That's right.
So we want the people to know that there's other options out there, even if it is, in the middle of the Atlantic. There's nothing wrong with that. So we want our people to be aware of this. And because I remember when the program was first announced, how old was I? Maybe 9-10 years old. And unfortunately, some circumstances happened in my life where I could not go. But I definitely want to encourage others to attend and try to see if they can, be able to qualify themselves for this program. It's definitely worth it. But family, once again, this is the STEM Files. We do our best to highlight the best and the brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black and Brown community. Our next guest on our regular day, which is Thursdays. Thursdays are our regular STEM Files days. We'll be interviewing another return guest, Sister Tahira, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is a clinical research coordinator, and she has a nonprofit foundation focusing on sickle cell disease. She's going to be talking about her scientific journey with that, as well as her personal journey dealing with the condition. She's been very she's championed a lot of causes dealing with this condition, and she's going to be coming back to the STEM Files to talk to us more about that. But family, thank you again. This is Tariq Cardiac, Dr. Joy 2X, special guest co-host. Once again, thank you, Doc. I appreciate you for answering the call. I know it was last minute. I'm telling you, fam, literally right before the show started, sis, can you hold for me real quick? Like what's up? And she, oh my God, praise be to Allah. So family, I want to paint you a picture real quick. So the minute, like I was saying before, we're working really hard to establish a regional healthcare system through the Ministry of Health and Human Services, right? And Sister Dr. Joy is our point of contact in Greensboro, North Carolina. And she has been doing an amazing job with the ministry in that city. And throughout, you're going to see, for those who are watching, you're going to see a lot of announcements come down the pipe, but you're going to see a lot of changes dealing with the Nation of Islam's presence when it comes to healthcare in the Mid-Atlantic. So there's going to be a lot of great things coming about. Sister Dr. Ihsan, I hope to be working with you in the ministry formally. And you're located in DC right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So yeah, we're definitely gonna be working together. But but praise be to our family once again. Dr. Tariq Cardiac, Dr. Joy 2X, Dr. Ihsan Muhammad. This has been the STEM Files family. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them heavy